The morning sun hesitated before peeking over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across the sleepy town. It was a kind of morning that felt like a whispered promise, gentle yet uncertain, as if the world itself wasn't sure how the day would unfold. Amelia sat by the window of her small apartment, a cup of untouched coffee cooling beside her. The world outside carried on as it always did. Birds sang, leaves rustled in the wind, and somewhere down the street, children laughed. But inside, within the confines of her quiet room, time stood still. Her hands trembled as she held an old, slightly crumpled envelope. Her name was written on it in neat handwriting, her own handwriting. It was a letter she had written 5 years ago, a letter she had never sent. It was meant for Daniel. Her eyes drifted to the date on the corner of the page, July 14th, 5 years ago. The night she had let him go. The night everything changed. 5 years ago. It had rained that evening, the kind of warm summer rain that made the earth smell alive. She and Daniel had stood on her porch, their voices raw from hours of arguing. "You always run, Amelia," Daniel had said, his voice a mix of frustration and something deeper, something that broke her more than anger ever could. "And you always expect me to stay when I don't know how," she had whispered back, barely meeting his gaze. The truth was, Daniel had always been the brave one, the dreamer. He had wanted a life full of adventure, of reckless love, of believing that some people were meant to stay. But Amelia had spent her whole life afraid of that kind of certainty. She had learned too young that people leave, that love fades, that dreams are fragile things. So she had let him walk away. She had watched as his figure disappeared into the night, her heart screaming at her to stop him, but her pride keeping her feet firmly planted. For days, she had thought about calling him, about telling him she was sorry, that she loved him, that she was just scared. And finally, she had written the letter, the one that held everything she should have said that night. But by the time she was ready to send it, it was too late. Daniel was gone. An accident, a late-night drive, a curve in a road that he never saw coming. And just like that, the world had lost its color. The present. Amelia exhaled, forcing herself to come back to the present. The letter felt heavy in her hands, as if it carried the weight of all the words left unspoken. She had spent the last 5 years haunted by the what-ifs. What if she had asked him to stay? What if she had been braver? What if she had sent the letter in time? She had built a life since then, a safe life. She had a stable job, a nice apartment, friends who cared about her. But something had always been missing, a hollow space inside her that she had never been able to fill. And now, after all these years, she knew what she had to do. She grabbed her coat and the letter, stepping outside into the crisp morning air. The town was waking up, people moving about their routines, unaware of the storm brewing inside her. She walked to the cemetery, her steps slow and deliberate. Daniel's grave was simple, unembellished, just like he would have wanted. She knelt down, brushing away a few fallen leaves from the stone. For a long moment, she just sat there, letting the silence settle around her. Then, with a deep breath, she opened the letter and began to read aloud. Her voice was steady at first, but as she spoke the words she had written all those years ago, her composure cracked. Tears slipped down her cheeks, and by the time she reached the end, she was sobbing. "I'm sorry," she whispered, pressing the letter against the stone. "I'm so sorry, Daniel, for being afraid, for waiting too long." The wind picked up, rustling through the trees, as if carrying her words to him. For the first time in 5 years, Amelia felt lighter, because some letters don't need to be sent to be heard, and some love stories never truly end.